This video is brought to you by my patrons and by viewers like you.
My gosh, you guys, I don't know why. I keep organizing my thoughts and then I just keep getting sidetracked. Welcome, greetings, groovy people. Welcome to Blue Dragon Art. I am the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. This is an art-related channel. Oftentimes I talk about my own projects, which is what I'm going to do in this video, even though I've got some Joe Sacco books sitting out here on the desk. Sitting, I don't remember. Sitting out on the desk. But yeah, this is not a grammar channel. Why do I give a shit? But I also talk about like anything art related, indie art, or books and stuff that I've been reading, graphic novels that I've been reading. Anything that really interests me, I like to discuss on this channel. And as I've mentioned in some of my previous videos from this year, I signed up for an Introduction to Graphic Novels nonfiction course, which includes memoir, reportage, biography, autobiography, historical graphic novels, things of that nature, ecological, stories about ecology, things of that nature. And this class has really inspired me and helped me get organized primarily, because I mean, what I want this video today to do is to inspire any of you out there that has a story that they want to tell, to take that leap, to work on that project. If it's something that if it's a story that you've been wanting to tell and you're nervous about it, or you just don't know where to get started, I want this video to kind of inspire other people. If this video can incentivize you or galvanize you out there to tell a personal story, even if it's just for yourself, even if you just do it to get it out of your system, and you keep it for yourself, and you never publish, and you never show it to another soul, I want this to maybe inspire you, because this class and reading all these graphic novels has really just it's been great for me, I feel. It's really gotten my creative juices going. It's really helped me expand my realm of possibilities and ways in which I might want to tell my story, or in the case of what I'm going to discuss today, my story, but also my dad's story, and in ways my mom and my family's story. And I don't know if I'm going to end up keeping it to myself or what, but these books that we've been reading, this is why I've been so busy, y'all. This is Joe Sacco's Palestine. This is from the early 2000s. It was actually originally published in the 1990s, because he's a reporter, or he was doing reportage. But this one here is 285 pages, and there's a lot of fucking text in this book, y'all. I need to finish this book. I'm still reading this one. I haven't even started Paying the Land. This is a newer one. This is from 2020. Same author, but it's interesting. We looked at some excerpts to kind of tell, how his storytelling has progressed over the decades. A lot more visual storytelling combined with text, but less blocks of text. I feel like it's a lot more organized, but still beautifully gorgeous with all the detail. Also read Alison Bechdel's Fun Home, extremely good book. I'm going to read the follow-up one about Bechdel's relationship with her mother. Highly recommended. And just also like a couple weeks ago we were reading Emil Ferris, My Favorite Things Are Monsters, or My Favorite Thing is Monsters. Beautifully illustrated, like so much detail with what looks like ballpoint pen and like a notebook. I don't know how she did it, but it's amazing. So I've been really fucking busy reading a ton of different graphic novels, working on Dark Horse, my free not safe for work webcomic. It's a post-apocalyptic magical girl fantasy, and also I've been bi-weekly publishing Cool World still. It's a much shorter story. We're getting about to the middle of the story there. And on top of that, all my class assignments. So in this video, I just want to kind of discuss a little bit about the long and winding road that led me to this final project that I'm working on for the class. For years I've been wanting to talk about like my dad, and also about like his family's lineage. If you've been around the channel, or if you know me, or if you talked to me, or if you heard me talk, or maybe you saw my Asian American Pride video from a couple years back, I am like 1/8 Filipina. I do not look Asian. I have never been discriminated against for my background. My dad has, because he looks something. He looked something. As did the rest of his family. But like a lot of people, especially like if you live in like a rural area, he really didn't grow up knowing much of anything about his culture, about that, not his culture, but that part of his family's culture. And whereas my mom's side, and my mom specifically, has always been very curious and encouraged us to be curious about not only our own heritage and, you know, families that we've come from, countries and cultures we've come from, but also other people's. So as a kid, it's always been something that I was very proud of, that I was English, Irish, Scottish, and Filipina, but I never knew anything about the Philippines other than I really loved my grandmother's pancit. That was really the only thing I missed of her, because she was not a particularly nice woman, which is part of why I'm working on this. There are reasons why she is the way she is, but this video I will not be getting into it, because I will keep that private and only include the personal stuff in whatever I work on. But I knew that I really liked pancit. My Uncle Frank was fucking amazing. He joined the Philippine resistance against the Japanese at the age of 14. He joined the Navy. We had all kinds of tall tales about him having, you know, lovers in every port. But he eventually settled down at the ripe old age of 70-something and married a woman who was like 60-something. But he was a very nice, kind person. I very much remember my Uncle Frank very fondly. But other than that, I don't know anything about my heritage, other than like things that I've been in present day researching and looking up. So I've always wanted to do some kind of project to kind of explore that side of my family, since it is still kind of a mystery to me. But I never really knew where to start. And there's a lot of like very painful family secrets stemming from my great grandfather, who was an American colonizer. He was an English teacher in the Philippines who married a widowed Filipina. And he was a very cruel, abusive person. And he started a cascade of mental illness and dysfunction that I am hoping has come to an end with our family. The nephew, but he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders. That type of abuse that like my I won't get into it, but like my dad was never physically abusive. My mom was taller than him and she didn't take any shit, so he was not really physically abusive with us, but he was, because he had like mental health issues stemming from a very cruel mother who got it from her cruel father. I want to kind of tackle like my feelings and my relationship with my father, because I'm someone who believes that two things can be true at once, and I do believe that it's important to show all facets of a human being, because he did a lot of really awful, cruel things, very emotionally cruel to my mother, but he also, you could tell at times he was trying. He wasn't just, like anyone, he wasn't all bad and he wasn't all good. And I feel like, and this is something that my family and I have talked about, we think that he did the best with what he had. And so I'd already been kicking around this idea of wanting to tell this story, but when I first actually started working on this scene last year, I'm all over the fucking place, you guys. I had nothing centering me, nothing to really guide me or help point me in the direction that I needed to go to tell this story. And so this class, between reading all these different graphic novels and having these prompts that we've been given, it's really helped kind of start my organizational process, because this is a very important story for me to tell because of closure, and I'll talk about why I need a little bit of closure here in just a minute. But it's also an important story for me to try to honor my family and just come to terms with all of this shit that has been kind of kicking around in my mind for a very long time. Let me show you some of the work that I've been doing leading up to this final 3-page project. It's only 3 pages that I'm talking about right now. Oh wait, that's my Dark Horse binder. Don't have your binders in the same damn color. They're both black binders and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, y'all. Okay. I don't know why I'm singing. Oh my god, you guys. I'm just all over the damn place. Trying to eat my lunch. So something that this course what we started out with prompts was to keep things grayscale, and then to expand into like using a single colored monochromatic. And you could use whatever you want. You could use washes, you could use colored pencils, you could use markers, you could use crayons, you could do whatever the fuck you want. Y'all know me. My medium of choice is ink, colored inks. So one thing that I liked was we had the prompt of interviewing someone in the class and then illustrating their story using their words, but making sure that the images that you use could stand on their own without words. So for this particular person loves to hike, but she's also daunted by the necessity to protest in this unprecedented time of absolute batshit bonkers bullshit going on in Washington, D.C. So what I tried to do with this was I tried to have like the images parallel, so they're kind of mirrored. You see her leisure time trying to take breaks from the work at hand, but also demonstrating like the marches and the protesting, using self-care as a form of defiance. So, you know, taking care of yourself, but also I wanted to have like the defiance over here with like the protests and the marches. And, you know, rising above, kind of being mirrored by the fact that she's surmounted this mountain for leisure and also working on surmounting a mountain for survival. A figurative mountain, if that makes sense. So this prompt was really fucking fun. He asked us to do like just the 6-panel format. Keep it pretty simple. We could stretch out. I mean, he's not like super strict about it. People could kind of do whatever they wanted to, but for me, I'm the kind of person who, if you hadn't noticed, I need structure and organization sometimes. So I abided by like what his instruction was, and then I used like one single color. So one of the other projects we had was 2 pages. It was another one of these My Picture Diary prompts, but he wanted us to break it up into panels however we so chose. He wanted us to do 2 pages, so we're going to discuss this a little bit. And while there was going to be like a diary prompt or a diary text to accompany the images, his instruction was to tell the story without using words. So I kept it simple, in my opinion. You can kind of see for yourself what's going on here. But again, he wanted he wanted it to be monochromatic. I've got my 2 screens. I'm screen toning or doing something, but I really want to draw. But I had to get the screen toning done, which is, screen toning is really not my favorite thing to do. Coloring I can enjoy, but I prefer painting like with the inks more than I do like coloring on the computer. Probably because of the mouse, but I'm getting better at it and it's a little less stressful. But I just really wanted to draw, and I've just been busy with like homework and all kinds of shit. So that was this story that I told, really making me have to think about, how do I tell the story visually? How do I make it clear what's going on? Without using words, but only using like, well, not the Lady Gaga, why am I pointing there? Bristol, like kind of sneaking in some words here and there, cheating a little bit. And then this one was just fun. I was just thinking about it because we were out of sunflower seeds and the crows always get like super vocal. They like, literally one of them will like land on like our porch railing and like caw until someone comes out, and I was like, oh shit, I'm out, they're gonna be pissed at me. So this was like just kind of like some fun storytelling, but because we were in some ways limited in our panel number, like each one is like 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 5. That one's only 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and then this was 6. The goal was to help me, someone who's extremely wordy, who's been working on a really stupidly long fucking comic since like the early 2000s, and then had to redo all that shit. This is like making me learn how to cut down on the words. So if you're someone like me who sometimes has trouble, with brevity, being brief, then this could be like a simple prompt that you challenge yourself with. After that, he decided to have us do a sense of place, and again, he didn't want color to get in the way, Not that color always gets in the way, but until you've honed your skills on like storytelling, sometimes daunting yourself with too much work, like getting preoccupied with color, can really inhibit your ability to kind of focus on honing one skill, if that makes sense. So he wanted us to keep with the single color, but also I've kind of been leaning this way anyhow, especially because I was getting bored with like just using blue, and blue is my favorite color. Obviously, I am the blue dragon, self-proclaimed. But I like colors too. I like a variety of colors, so I keep flipping up here and you can't see it, whatever. So this time I challenged myself to use some green. Also, I use green intentionally too, because I'm talking about like a sense of place. That's the prompt. This was my childhood home. This is all about my childhood home. And so in my youth, you know, when you think of youth, you think of being a greenhorn. This damn thing is in my way. Yeah, get out of it. You think of being green, you think of being young, like a sapling. Why am I doing all this plant stuff? Because it's green. When I think of my childhood, I often think of, you know, how much greenery there was in it. I was surrounded by cornfields. The pond was gross and skunked. This is a much cleaner pond than what was reality. I've got my little leopard frog tadpoles here, but you know, the pond was often green with pond scum, and there were cattails and shit and, you know, grass, and then mushroom hunting with my dad. Some of my fondest memories is being out in the woods with my dad, just having fun, going for walks, working. I did work too. I'm putting it in quotes, but land surveying and stuff, but also just going mushroom hunting and being proud to bring home a huge haul of morels for my family to enjoy, to have like the nickname of Eagle Eye. Dad used to say that I had an eagle eye and I could spot him anywhere. So I mean, being out in the woods was green, and the railroad tracks really was the only thing that doesn't really fit being green, other than like the cattails and all the grass and cornfield and stuff that grew around the outer edges of the railroad tracks. But for sense of place, the goal was to use some text, but to have them all of the images that you chose to use connect with what was in the middle. For me was, you know, my childhood home. So this was a really fun prompt, and I would really like to include this in the larger story that I tell about kind of dealing with something that has been an ongoing issue in my personal life. Okay, so this last project, because we were reading Joe Sacco, and everything has been like a biography or something of that nature, our prompt was to do some type of reportage or do a discussion of something that's happening in your personal life right now. And the week that we got this assignment, I had gotten an email from my lawyers regarding a lawsuit that I am a part of. I am allowed to talk about this. I won't get into details, but the long and the short of it is, the funeral home that we chose, that was suggested in like the paperwork from one of the prominent local hospitals, was a small family-owned Southern Illinois funeral home. And it was discovered that they had been handing out the wrong cremains to people. And how I found out about it initially was on October 3rd of 2023. My sister called me and told me that one of her clients, my sister's a hairstylist, and one of her clients, I believe it was one of her clients, either knew someone or was the person that it happened to, where they had been called by a different prominent hospital in Springfield and told that no one has picked up their mother, and she's been there for weeks or been there for a month in the refrigerator after passing away. And the woman that the hospital had called said, well, we already have my mother. The funeral home has already given us her cremains. So that's the event that blew the fucking lid off of this event. And so my sister told me, I need to call the coroner's office and find out, whether or not we have my dad's cremains. And there's a tag. If you don't know anything about cremains and things of that nature, they do have a tag that accompanies the body. And the crematorium that actually did the work was not the same. Like, the funeral home went to an actual crematorium somewhere else in the state. It wasn't done at that funeral home, which I did not know about that. I thought it all got done at the funeral home. But at any rate, that's neither here nor there. So the coroner's office had been checking the tags against records, and come to find out, the cremains that I had sitting underneath my desk for a year were not my dad's. And so I immediately got in contact with lawyers, because this event was so massive that the state of Illinois, the motherfucking state of Illinois, had to enact legislation making what this man did illegal. There are at least 80 families who were involved, who were given the wrong cremains. And there's probably more, because they are still checking records, because they have record of this dating back to like 2017, you guys. So this happened when my father had passed away in 2022, but it had been happening for fucking years. So this funeral home, we're taking them to court, and they were trying to weasel out of the court case by saying there was a line on the contract stating that I had to arbitrate rather than take them to court. At any rate, the week that this assignment was given to us, we'd been waiting since October of 2024 for the judge to decide whether or not she was going to throw out the case and force us into arbitration, or if she was going to throw out the arbitration and this to go to court. Which she ended up judging in our favor. I'm sure I could say why, but I'm not going to, just to play it safe. So now we're back at square one, waiting for the hearing to make this a class action lawsuit. Because there's so many families involved, I don't feel comfortable suing as a single person. And I feel like everyone should get justice, is what I'm trying to say. The point of this is because right now, at this time, that man who did this is not facing criminal charges because it was not a law yet. Now, he might face criminal charges. I don't know what the DA is doing. I don't know what the coroner's office is doing. I don't know what's going to happen. But at this time, to my knowledge, he's just fucking scot-free. And it really pisses me off, because years later, here we are, I still don't have my father's cremains. And this was a very important thing for us as a family, because of our complicated relationship and because we cared for Dad ourselves. He died in his home, in his bed. My mother, my sister, and I, we took care of him to the best of our ability. And I sat and listened and read stories to him, and I listened to music with him, and I read books. Well, I just said I read stories, but I read books to him. Oh, this is how I know his mind wasn't completely gone when I was reading to him, because he was passing from dementia. But he had vascular dementia, which it does affect your mind, but it affects your physical body more. And for the most part, he recognized me right up until the very end. I think one time he called me his sister D. But other than that, he recognized me. He knew who I was. So it mostly it affected his mind, but for quite a while, he was able to say who he was and when he was born. It took a while for him to forget that. But I remember reading, I was reading Walt Whitman to him, because I thought he liked Walt Whitman, because he loved "Oh Captain, My Captain," but I should have known better. Because I'm reading, like, you know, The Body Electric and all this stuff. And I have a pause in the reading, and he just says, "I think that man's full of shit." I mean, I'm laughing, but it's like, it was such a dad thing to say. I just busted up laughing, and, you know, he had a little smile because he knew I personally like Walt Whitman, but, you know, I was like, you know, if you're not enjoying this, Dad, how about I read The Hobbit to you? So we switched to The Hobbit. But what I'm getting at is that, like, I loved my father very dearly, in spite of his imperfections. He made me, I mean, it was very frustrating how he was, but, I mean, he was not always like that, and he did try at times. And my mom, it was very hard for her because she was about his age. She is an older woman. She was in her 70s, and it's physically taxing. And to care for your loved one on their terms in your home, well, hell, I mean, well, I just feel like we were really fucking robbed of getting to have that closure of spreading his ashes. I'm so pissed off because we accidentally, not knowing, spread some of those other people's ashes at a very important location to my dad in Illinois. And I had plans that my partner, Bradman, and we were going to go to Tillamook Forest, which my mom and dad both loved Tillamook National Forest. We were going to go to Lincoln City and Otis because that's where they used to live in the 70s. That was like their favorite place that they lived in Oregon. And I was going to go up to Bremerton, where he was born, because that's where my grandmother and her family, when they came to the Philippines, they all moved to Bremerton, Washington, and that's where my dad was born, was in Washington State. So it was meaningful, you know? And we were starting to save up for that plan. That's why I still had his ashes, was because we were saving up and trying to figure out how we were going to do this, how Brad was going to get out of work so that he could accompany me on this trip to spread Dad's ashes. And I mean, I consider it a blessing that we didn't get to go on that trip, because I would feel a billion times worse if I had spread some other poor family's loved one, you know? But at any rate, why I want to do this project is in lieu of having that final trip to bookend my father's life, especially Bremerton, because to me it symbolized, you know, like a return. I was trying to hit up all the places that I thought were important to his life, you know, and since we've been robbed of that, and I've been kicking around like doing a zine regarding all of this anyhow, this class really gave me the incentive to start putting to illustration and words, you know, my feelings towards my family and towards my dad specifically, but we are all kind of involved in it. And so the other thing that I really liked about this, you know, everything just seemed to be falling into place. So because of when I got that email, because right after I got that email, that's when we got this prompt. And I feel like I was given the freedom to just kind of go ham. I was like, the whole reason why I took this class to begin with was because I've been kicking around this idea of working on this project. And this is the last project. So this is my chance to really start digging into the meat of what I want to do. So it just felt like everything was falling into place, you guys. So we were given up to 3 pages, he said. No more than 3 pages. Unless you could do it, which I was like, you know what, I won't exceed the max, I will just meet the max. And so this project, it made me really have to think about, I had to do some brainstorming, and it's been a while since I mean, aside from when I do like one-shots, I don't really do brainstorming like this much. So in class, we were sitting in class, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I need to simplify. I want to hit this, bam, 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 bam. These are points that I need to hit. And then when things were getting too long, I had to whittle that down. How am I going to do this in text? And then how am I going to do that? How do I translate this text into pages? And I ended up, so I came up with these 3 thumbnails. And what I ended up working, I had these drawn out. This is my process for this, at least. I had my rectangles drawn out, and I was working with the text I had and shortening it up. And then I was like, well, how do I establish this? How do I establish that? I need to establish who my dad was. I need to give him a little bit of a personality. So I start with, because I've done this a lot, reminiscing by looking at photos of my family, of my mom and dad in the 70s. Music is such an important thing to all of us, or to most of us, I would say. And music was a pivotal part of the time that I spent, the last few days that I spent with my dad. Because I once I finished The Hobbit, I knew I shouldn't start another book because the time was coming soon. So instead, I would spend time with him just putting on album after album on my laptop so that we could sit there and listen to his favorite music. And because he had dementia, one thing that, you can Google this, you can look it up. One thing that is interesting about human beings is that music sticks with us. Our minds and our memories go, but music stays with us. And maybe I was imagining it, maybe I wasn't, but I thought during some of the albums I kind of saw his toes moving, his feet moving a little bit. I don't usually like to make shit up like that. If it hadn't happened, I don't like to bullshit. I know there are people who bullshit and make shit up to comfort themselves, and that's fine. That's whatever. You do you. But I wouldn't say that if I didn't actually observe it. So I wanted to start this story out with an album. That was like the first image that I came up with. And then the last image, the last panel was figuring out what I wanted down here, which I decided, you know what, let's have it be photos of Dad that I'm reminiscing. This was the second page that I got done completely. Actually, it's the first page that I sketched and inked. I knew exactly what I wanted this page to look at. It just came very naturally. And then I knew that in the last panel I needed to introduce and establish who my sister was without words. So, Megan wouldn't say, hey, I'm a hairstylist cutting people's hair. So I wanted to show that she was cutting hair while on the phone to me and kind of show who she is. And then I knew that I wanted to finish up with the urn that I had mailed my father to our home here in mailed this person who was not my father to our apartment here in Portland. So that's my process. I started with like the words and just kind of vomiting all of my thoughts and the kind of the story, how things were going, and then I whittled it down from there. It's like, well, what will people need to see? What do they need to know? And cut it down from there and worked it into just 3 pages. Now I'm going to show the pages that I'm working on. They are not done. I'm not going to read this to y'all, but I'm not going to specify why I chose American Beauty when Working Man's Dead was my dad's favorite album. He loved American Beauty too. But the symbolism, like I said earlier, things were just falling into fucking place like a puzzle. And Till the Morning Comes, which is a song on side 2 of American Beauty. When I was working on this, for some reason that song, Just Make Yourself Easy, kept playing in my head. And it really is interesting because Dad never made himself easy. He never made anything easy. Sometimes he did, but even in death, it's hard. We can't put it all to rest yet. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of like that dark, that bit of dark humor. I'm laughing, but it is painful, but also it is a little funny. Y'all know my mom has a friend whose dad was not religious at all their entire life, and then on his deathbed, which was such a him thing to do, he's like, I need someone to come in here and pray for me while I'm dying. And it made everyone, you know what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing where it's like, it's not funny that the person is dying, but oh my god, the thing, you know, it just reminds you that was so them. That was so them. And this is so Dad. That even like his arbitrary, he'd been like a born again Christian, raised fucking strict Catholic. He was a fucking altar boy. His whole life he Bible thumped and listened to fucking AM radio and Rush Limbaugh and all that shit. What told us what to do, but never took us to church when my mom got sick, you know, that kind of thing. And before he lost his mind completely, like years before he lost his mind, we sat him down, hey, you're in the early stages of this. Where do you want to be buried? Do you want these plots? And do you want your last rites? Or do you want a preacher or someone to come in? And it was so him that the reason why we got him cremated to begin with, you guys, we had full-on plans to have a funeral, like just bury him. And out of the blue, he's like, I don't believe in God. I want to be cremated. Which fits because we knew he wasn't like actually a spiritual person, that he was religious to control or try to control people. Which never worked. It never worked. But, you know, that was like the kind of person he was. And if he had just gone with his plans to be buried, which is what we were going to do, none of this fucking bullshit would have happened. So I'm laughing about it now. I'm laughing about it because you gotta laugh or you'll cry. But that's why this whole Dad never made anything easy. If he just stuck with the fucking plan, if he just stuck with the plan and not come out and confessed it, you know, we would have buried him and had a funeral and that would have been it. But he was a very private person. He never would talk about fucking hardly anything other than repeating what he heard on the fucking AM radio. But, you know, a lot of times he would like give that a rest too because it didn't work on us, you know. I'm religious, I am a Christian, but I kind of am in my mom's same vein as you guide your own soul, you guard your own soul, and you don't force your shit on other people. It's not your duty. Your duty is to watch yourself, not judge everyone else. So, I mean, all of his stuff never really had much of an effect on me and my spirituality and how I want to live my life. But it was very apropos that he would fucking come out, just like how we found the Snoop Dogg CD that he stole from Megan. Told my sister, you can't listen to this shit. Well, he stole it because he wanted to listen to that shit himself. Don't smoke pot, even though he was the biggest drug addict, fucking pothead in his youth ever. Don't do kids do drugs. Then when we're in high school, Mom finds a fucking baggie of pot in his pocket. You know, that kind of fucking hypocritical thing. You just gotta laugh because it's not like any of us paid any damn attention to what he was saying. We were gonna do what we were gonna do. Not that I'm a big drug addict. Actually, I would say I have not done half the drugs my dad did. He was clean by the time, you know, he smoked cigarettes behind everyone's back. But he was an alcoholic when he was younger, so I will say one thing, he quit drinking. We always had to have like non-alcoholic like drinks around Christmas and the holidays for him because he couldn't drink. So I give him credit for not being a drunken dad to us. So, but yeah, so that's why I chose this. And the pieces, you know, that it's a side two, it's all just falling into place. And so I guess I'll just show you the pages and wrap it up. I'm gonna like just take the audio out here for a minute. Okay, I think that's plenty of time. Yeah, I also fucked up the scissors here. So this is a little tip that I've been doing, you guys, since I cut down my larger Bristol board to a smaller size. I always have like these little strips of Bristol. And with these projects, I've just kind of been leaving like my line work and shit behind. I kind of like the way it looks because it's the blue pencil that I've been using. But because I keep making mistakes, if you want a little tip, if you're working in like a physical traditional medium like this, obviously I need to fix this up a little bit, but I just redrew it on a little piece of Bristol, and I'm gonna find a place to put it here and tape it down. Not tape it down, glue it down. I had what else, this here I really fucked up on myself down here, so I just took a little piece. This whole middle part I fucked up, you can tell. So I glued that down. And that's just how I've been fixing shit. This, I messed up on the record, so I got a piece of that Bristol, glued it down. This page I did not fuck up on. Holy motherfucking shit. What the fuck? So, yeah, this project, I think, just to give you all an idea, and if I get it finished and scanned in before the end of the class, this is due tomorrow at time of recording. I've recorded this fucking video 5 times, but I'm gonna do like a brown color for like a sepia color, because I want to use like different inks for every project, or for every like little set of stories. So I think sepia will be good, or I don't know. I really feel like using like a brown sepia will kind of, I think that will be effective, if you get what I'm saying. So that is what I've been working on, y'all. Oh my god, I gotta leave this out because I gotta finish inking it today and tomorrow. Holy shit. You know, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about like some personal stuff. I'm trying to keep it not... I've recorded this 5 times because I keep whittling down, much like my fucking brainstorming. I haven't had time to really organize my thoughts and like edit my thoughts down to things that are appropriate and not oversharing. Because, you know, there is such thing as oversharing. But I hope that, if anything, one, it explains why I didn't have my video last week. Besides our doggie, we got a doggie, little doggie. Her name is Phyllis Diller. She's adorable. But also just, you know, between juggling Dark Horse, weekly updates, and bi-weekly Cool World, I've still got my flatting gig, and I've got the assignments on top of it. And yes, I am attending protests. I'm going to say that while it's still legal to. There's just been so much going on that is extremely important. And I'm trying to find a balance. My schedule has gone out the fucking window since we got the dog. Which is fine, because I need to get out. I need to get out more. Like, I only had 1 walk scheduled normally, as you all know, if you watched my video on my schedule. But now I'm getting out for 2 to 3 walks a day. I'm getting out for like marches, and, you know, I've just been busy with like phone calls and emails and stuff like that. Just really important stuff that, you know, I would rather be doing other things. I would rather be working on art, but, you know, sometimes you've got to put what's important to the foreground. But in addition to that, I mean, I know not everyone has the capability of speaking up and speaking out. So I feel like I really don't have much of an excuse. I'm not judging anyone else. I'm just saying it's important to me to have my voice be heard. And yeah, it's just been keeping me really fucking busy, you guys. I am going to try to have that vlog done, though. Wow, my skin is so washed out. What do I need to do to fix this? Do I need to zoom out? Do I need to zoom in? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I hope it's inspired you to tell your story. Again, maybe you're going to keep it to yourself. Maybe you don't have a story you want to tell. Maybe you don't feel like doing that, but maybe it'll inspire you if you have somebody else's story you want to tell, like a historic thing, a historic comic or writing or poem, something. I hope that this inspires you to get up and get to it, because sometimes we need a little Kickstarter to get us motivated. Sometimes we think we need motivation, and all we need to do is sit our ass down and have nothing but the thing you need to work on to do. And speaking of, I need to do that. I gotta get to work because my homework's due tomorrow. And it's the last class. So I'll see y'all next week. I'm not sure if I'll have the vlog done. We will see. Peace and love. Fare you well. And keep on trucking. Oh, for those of you at the end of the video, I just cut myself with a mandolin. Always, always, always use a fucking glove, okay? I was in a hurry and I was doing my carrots. I was julienning my carrots and I got a little too low. I was not careful because I've been stupidly rushed. So don't be like me. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. Wear a glove. Okay, bye.